Alright, if you've got scraps of leftover fabrics, here is a brilliant idea to use up those particular pieces of scraps. I've got some 4 scrap pieces of half square triangles and some scraps here as well. I'm going to be using some lace for this simplistic project, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy. I'll give you the sizes as I go along, so that way if you want to make something out of it, you can, as well as these are all scraps here. Alright, I'm not sure about their length, but obviously I'll let you know. So these half square triangles are roughly 4.5 inches squared. So I'm going to sew these 2 together and sew these 2 together. Alright, you can play around with the design, it doesn't really matter which, however you want to put it. So you can make yourself a little pinwheel, and that way you have yourself a little bit of a design. That's nice too. I mean, whatever you want. Play around with your half square triangles and see whatever pattern that makes you happy. Ignore my iron as usual. Okay, however, I'm going to go with just a simplistic one here. I do like the idea of the yellows coming together to make that square on point, or as I like to say, diamond, because they're my best friend. Yeah, I would really love them to be my best friend, but they're not. They're sometimes my best friend. So I'm going to sew these 2 together like so. All right, so there, and that's it. And I will show you the next step, but let me get this completed and I'll be back in a minute. All right, so sewn together now. I mean, sometimes it's nice just to make an ordinary, I say ordinary, but a simplistic project without your scraps. You don't always have to use our scraps for quilts. And this is just to give you an idea of what else you can do with them. So I'm just finger pressing. And what I'm going to do right now is go back to my bits of scraps here. It doesn't really matter what color it is. This is going to be my lining. So I'm going to do this, the same length there. And I reckon I should get a bit of this one as well onto this one. Perfect. Just going to use my scissors rather than use the rotary cutter. And I'm just going to measure and cut. Now, don't be overly stressed about this. It really is just a nice little project. All right, and what I'm going to do is to sew them like so. So I'm putting them front sides together. Now, the only difference is it's a little bit big, but we're going to trim it up later, so don't worry about that. That's neither here or there. What I am going to do is to use one of these sides. So this is the way I'm setting it up. So those 2 is the way. So I want one of this to be there. I'm just going to extend it a little bit. All right, so I'll repeat that. So I'm using my lace here a little bit longer, approximating both of the half square triangles, the rectangles now, together with my lining fabric. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to put one of this like so, but I want it to stick out. Okay, I am going to capture. So do not, and I repeat, do not line it up edge to edge. We want it to stick out. So what that is, the majority, and you're just sewing down roughly about just over 1/4 of an inch to the edge, and you're going to bring this one back as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is a stitch along there and a stitch along there. Alright, before I stitch this, I just wanted to point out, even though I demonstrated the amount that you're going to have sticking out, what I want to make sure is that you are going to encase it in between the 2. Alright, so do not stitch it, for example, like so along there. I was just explaining that this is the amount, about 1/4 inch, that needs to be stitched along there. I hope I didn't make that confusing, but nevertheless, the lace must be sandwiched in between your front and your lining. And I'm going to stitch along there and then stitch along there. All right, so once you have stitched it along, what you need now is to fold it back, give it a little bit of a press so that it stays. So you can see what I mean now with the lace being at the front. So all I did, just to repeat, that the lace is stitched in there, is sandwiched in between. All right, so I'm going to fold it back over now. And I want the blue to be underneath. And again, I'm just going to give it a nice little press on that seam or that stitch line there, because I want it to lay flat. And I'm just going to top stitch. So I'm going to top stitch along there and top stitch along that one. You can do a decorative stitch, i.e. a zigzag or whatever pleases your fancy, really, because this is going to be exposed. So you can do that. I think I'll just do an ordinary straight stitch, to be honest. Well, I may change my mind by the time I get to the sewing machine, but yeah, let's go do that. All right, so next what we need to do, so I've top stitched mine. So I did use a bit of a decorative stitch at the top there, but on this one I just did a straight stitch. I had pink cotton on, so I was like, oh, it's not showing up, and I didn't want to go through the hassle of actually changing it. I do feel a bit guilty sometimes of having an expensive sewing machine and not using all of it to its full entirety. So sometimes I feel guilty that I should use the decorative stitches. Nevertheless, I've done it on that one. So the next step now, we're going to put this down, put them all front sides together, like so. And I am going to put this one on top there. Now, do not put it like that. I mean, you can, but I don't want you to do that. All right. So we need to make sure it's like so. So we're working from the back side. So the objective is to get the lace to cover this side. So if you put it like that, I can't see a huge issue, but I think for me personally, I want a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to turn it over so you can see what I'm referring to. So I'm going to turn it over like so, just a little bit of a gap, probably about just ½ an inch in between the two. All right. And what I'm going to do is to just trim it up so it's nice and even on all sides. I think this is when your rotary cutter comes into play. You can use scissors, but yeah, this is fine. Just trim it all up so it's lovely and even. Do this. I'm not making it any particular size. You'll see what it is. I haven't told you on purpose what it is. So what I'm going to do now is use my other square fabric and lay it like so. And then I'm going to stitch all the way around, leaving an opening on the end here. So stitch, stop, start, and go all the way around. You must have an opening there. Just as a word of caution, when you do this, just make sure it's front sides together. All right, and stitch, leave an opening, and any side, it doesn't really matter as long as you leave an opening to turn it round. So start there, go all the way around. Make sure you pass your corners, but stop enough where you have enough room to put your hand in and pull it through. All right, so I've done my little marks there just to remind me. I've pinned it so it doesn't move. You can see the gap there that I've left, and both of the fabrics. So the lining here is front sides together with the front of my design. All right, so I'm going to stitch along and stop where that opening is. Okay, all sewn around now. Left my opening. I do have a little bit of extra there, so I'm just going to simply trim that off, only because I don't want the bulk. And I still haven't told you what this is, so I'm going to turn it around so you have that opening Well, realistically, we didn't really need the opening, to be honest, but nevertheless, it's there. And I'm just going to use that opening to poke out, just to make sure it's nice. And need a pokey tool. I'm going to use a pencil and just go through, and then what I'm going to do is just top stitch all the way around to close that. Go all the way around the square of it. So that is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to top stitch all the way around. Alright, so that is what it looks like. Nice and neat and tidy. Everything closed up with your opening there. Okay, let me show you what I made it for now. Alright, I'm sure you can guess what it is for now. So I'm going to take my napkins and fit it in. Make sure it's lovely and flat, and I'm going to shove it in. It's a good size actually, nice and snug in there. And then I'm just going to lift this side up, close it down, smoothen it all out. And you can use it for tissues, doesn't have to be for napkins. You can put this in your bathroom, on your coffee table. I'm just smoothing it all out. Dinner table, wherever. It's the easiest. And no one's none the wiser. You can even make smaller ones for pocket napkins and put it into your handbag. And all you need to do is just pull one up as you would normally. There you go. A fabric napkin holder. Cute, isn't it? Well, let me know what you think, guys. Alright, so that's it. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Happy quilting. Bye for now. Give me a thumbs up. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and I'll definitely see you in the next one, guys. Bye.